Calaroga Shark Media.
Hello again, I'm Johnny Mac. My guest today is Gianmarco Soresi. His new special, Thief of Joy, you'll find it on YouTube. It is up there for Best Special of the Year. It's right there with Marin. I love this special the more I think about it. So behind the scenes here, Gianmarco was doing me a favor as he was traveling around. I'm friendly with his publicist. I'm like, has he got a couple minutes? And he had a couple minutes, but literally he's in a car here. So I didn't use my usual setup, and this is phone quality. Now, the reason I'm bothering you with that is because the poor guy was in the virtual waiting room for 5 minutes while I'm bothering his publicist going, hey, I don't think he's there yet. And then she's like, he's in the waiting room waiting for you to let him in. So then I let him in. And then I couldn't hear him, and I finally figured out what was wrong, and it was me that was wrong. So this guy who's having a moment is kind enough to talk to me. I make him wait for 5 minutes, and then I make him wait for 2 more minutes as I figure out the tech. So Gianmarco Soresi, thank you so much, and I hope you come back again sometime because I always like talking to you. So all that is the preamble to that. I didn't go long here with him. I wanted to respect his time. I hit the questions I wanted to hit. Could I have talked to him about other things? Of course. But by design, I had 5 questions written down, and we just flew through them. And here's in a car, Gianmarco Soresi. So I wanted to ask you on today, the real question I had you on is a sandbag question. Did you cancel Disney Plus, or are you supporting fascism?
I think I've been using my girlfriend's sister account. So I am morally free of any guilt. I'll tell her she should cancel it, and I hope she doesn't.
No, we don't hope she doesn't, because the parent company, Hulu, they're giving out money for Hulu specials. So we love Disney.
Yes, we love them. Listen, these platforms are so good. They're doing good and bad. So we're kind of stuck.
So I wanted to ask you why you went with YouTube and not the others. And then an hour before we were scheduled to talk, I saw the answer on AV Club. They did a great profile with you. So I know the answer, but can you just tell everybody why did you pick YouTube?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not gonna pretend like everyone was like knocking down the door for the special. But the bottom line is, like, I needed to release it on my own time. And, a lot of these places, they schedule stuff out far in advance. And I have so much material. I write so much. I have so much like new stuff that I wanted to move on to, that when I was ready to pull the trigger and when we decided on the Elysian Theater, I was like, we just got to do it. We got to do it on the next weekend available, which was February, Valentine's Day, as my girlfriend likes to point out. And then when we were ready to have it released, I just needed the control. I needed to be able to release it on my own timeline with my own touring schedule sooner than later, because I had already felt like I kind of retired all the material, and I want to record another special next year. So I was like, let's have the full control. I don't want to have to run it by additional people. Between my executive producers and me, I felt confident in the artistic integrity of the writing and the show. And then the bottom line, as I said in that AV Club article, is that I think we all know that traditional media has become shattered and broken, and audiences are everywhere. There's audiences out there who don't know who Sebastian Maniscalco is. He was the #1 touring comedian 2 years ago, 1 year ago. And it's like, that's how fractured things are. And my goal as a business person, because I kind of see myself also as like the CEO of the company that is me, is I want my jokes in every corner of the internet, in every corner that people get their entertainment from. And that isn't limited to one network. Some of these networks are surely very far reaching. Others, though, are not. Others are cost prohibitive. Others don't air in certain countries. And I want to be able to take the hour special, which I want people to watch in full. I think I really was determined to make a piece designed to be watched in full. However, a lot of my joke writing has come at the time of the internet. So I do write in a way in chunks that can become clips. And I want to be able to take my hour special and break it up every which way for every social media platform that currently exists that will exist, whether it's vertical, horizontal, or some new fucked up shape that will need to be made, whether someone will make a video player that's in the shape of a star. I'll be ready to do it. And I'll do it on my accord, in my own rhythm that fits my career. And there may be future times where I go, oh, going with a platform is worth it for the validation, whether it be self-validation or public validation. But right now, my goal is to make my work known to the world. And I went with the avenue that let me control the material fully. So if there's some airline in South Korea that is looking for comedy specials, boom, I can give it to them for free if I want to, in the hopes that I'll tour South Korea someday. If I find out LinkedIn is a good place to start posting clips, boom, I'll put it there. People go to so many different places. I'll see something on IMGUR, which I've never visited on my own accord, but you'll see like someone makes a comic strip out of a joke there, and it has 10 million views. And I go, okay, I want those 10 million people that use Imgur for their entertainment to know about me. And I hope that the goal ultimately is to see me live. And then when I come to your city, you want to pay the money to leave your house and trust me to entertain you for an hour or more.
I'm happy to hear you're working on another special. As I watch this thing, there are so many jokes. I'm going to say jokes per second because I don't want to get into the Dane Cook laughs per minute metric. But you clearly subscribe to Bob Hope theory of, tell enough jokes in a minute and some of them might land. And I don't mean that as a backhanded compliment, because they land, my friend. Like, oh my goodness, the amount of jokes that are just per minute laughing. I wrote a note as I was watching, and I'm like, he's got to have nothing left in the can because he's used so much material there. So you are prolific.
I appreciate it. I mean, some of these jokes, they've evolved, but some of the real bangers were cultivated when I was working at really, really, really bad comedy clubs, and your punchline just had to just explode or you would lose the audience. And in a way, I think there's this kind of there's two sides of it, where there's one version where you want to evolve out of that horrible comedy club space so you can share bigger thoughts. You can explore with more nuance, the same way that, like, if you listen to a story from an entertaining friend, you trust them and you will listen to the whole story, maybe get some more details. Well, at the same time, I do believe in that, like, razor sharp, boom, 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 boom. Have you worked on it so much that every sentence, if not two sentences, pops? And I try to have both. I try to have my cake and eat it too. And I set the bar for myself of, like, how funny a joke needs to be to stay in the act. And that's, like that art surgery, which I closed about this bit about my dad's quintuple bypass. Some of those jokes could be traced back to year one, and they've evolved, and I learned how to stack them and thread them in and incorporate them. But each one of those jokes, like, I could write a passage about the journey of those jokes. And I really try to take both worlds of, like, the club comedy, every joke needs to pop, and the idea of wanting to weave a narrative and tell a story, and really hold myself to account to combine them both at all times.
I don't want an answer to this one because I don't want to ask the magician, how did you sell the lady in half? But there's a moment in the special where I was like, is he play acting? Is this a real moment? I couldn't tell, don't care, don't want to know, don't tell me. But as I was watching it too, I started to think about your physicality. And for maybe like 2 seconds, I was like, is his physicality help selling the material? And I quickly landed on, no, you're just a physical performer. As we're recording this, you're in a car, even just speaking to some idiot with a podcast. You're very physical as you speak.
Yes.
So,
yes.
I don't think at all that the material is being propped up by the way you were moving around the stage using the physical space. I closed my eyes just to test this theory, and the material, this thing is great, this special. And you're seeing the press you're getting. Everybody is saying that this is a great special. So congratulations on this.
Thank you. I feel really proud of it. And, I think when I was a little kid, I used to dance in the living room. And this is how either narcissistic or just entertainery I was. I told my parents, I was like, we need to get this living room onto a stage so people can watch me dance. And in a way, I feel like I've done that to a degree. My physicality, it's really like how I have trouble dancing at a wedding, but when everyone's looking at me, I feel like I come to life. And so I really, at a certain point, I was like, oh yeah, the way that I want to move, I'm allowed to do that on stage. In fact, I've picked one of the only professions where I can just let my body naturally express itself. And I certainly, like, in the last couple of years, have challenged myself to, like, feel free to like have a physical body that naturally just moves along with however I want to tell a joke without choreographing.
Gianmarco's special is called Thief of Joy. It's on YouTube. More coming up.
I was joking with your publicist. Now, as great as your comedic timing is, no one better. Your marketing timing, I'm going to leave something to be questioned. You had that great Joe Biden chunk that you had to put out rather quickly because the news cycle changed. And then you go and you release one of the great specials of the year. It's between you and Marin, I think, at this point in the race for who we're going to give the award to. And you just decided to drop that. And then Jimmy Kimmel might have slightly stepped on the news cycle.
Yeah. Listen, it's really hard. You can't control any of that stuff. The Biden, the special last time that opened with like a big Biden chunk, for those who don't know, it was like we were going to release it, 2 months later, and then Biden had the debate, and I saw it, and I was like, I thought he could drop out like now, like that night, and obviously he delayed it 3 weeks, but I was like, it's over, and if he drops, the beginning of this special feels dated. And by the way, I will never make that mistake again. I will never open a special. I assumed, I guess, in my mind that, well, certainly whoever's the president will be the president in a month. Not in today's world. We cannot be so trustworthy of society. So, you drop a special, something else is happening in the news. You can't control it. For all I know, some people, they want to get away from all the noise and drama of the political world and lean into escapism. This is kind of my point of like why I want to control things on my own because the same way you could drop a special on HBO and they decided for the same week as the new White Lotus and it goes viral, or some other movie, and you're just not part of the conversation. And I think I had faith that, if anything, the thing I was most scared of was Caleb Huron had a special coming out that same day, and we have a Venn diagram. His is a much bigger circle, but I thought like, all my fans, all my fans are probably Caleb Huron fans. They're going to watch his special first, and you just go, I can't control it. I believe in the quality of the product, and I believe it's doing well now. And the thing with the internet is like, it could do well next week. It could do a month from now. I wrote this special to be as evergreen as possible. And, I believe it will continue to have a life. And I also believe that the American political drama is probably never going to settle back down to a nice, peaceful spot. So you just have to accept that as an entertainer, that you're always going to be competing with something Trump did.
In terms of creating a released special, so different than being in the room, are you pulling a closer and moving to the front? I've seen Bert Kreischer and some other comedians talk about for a Netflix special versus I worked with the Carlin estate for a while, and they explained how Carlin would come out and do rat-a-tat-tat jokes, then the big arc, and then let the audience breathe and go back to rat-a-tat-tat. But Kreischer is saying he's pulling his closer and putting it up front. What are you releasing?
I honestly, I always jump around with sets as I start getting closer to what I'm going to do. Most of my headlining sets will usually be between 75 to 90 minutes, and I'll jump around. But I generally I do like an opener that really sets the stage. And this opener in particular, like I was using this for a while, and I just wanted to fine tune it. So I would never, I could start with heart surgery, which is how I ended the special, and really test out like how it works. And I throw things around, but sometimes when I find an opener that I love, that I think sets the stage, I go, let me rehearse this into the fucking ground so I can articulate the wording and the musicality in multiple circumstances until it's the best that it can be. So this opener about my family, I kept it for at least 3 months prior to. And I do think experimenting can be good. Always good. But I also think that if you keep the same opener in different environments, whether it be a club spot, a headlining set in the South, a headlining set overseas, you will learn even more nuance of that one joke than if you are always moving it around.
In a week like this, where there's the Kimmel story, which is really a larger story, do you feel the need to address that, or do you just go Sebastian Maniscalco and say, I'm here to tell pasta jokes? Like, which way do you go?
If I have good jokes, I will always address it. It just depends if I have time, and I don't want to be preachy. But like with Kimmel stuff, like, there was some stuff that came to mind. Twitter is my writing pad, and I had a couple jokes, and I fine-tuned it. It felt so topical. I released it the next day. And then beyond that, I said, well, a lot of the fans, if they're at this next show, they probably saw what I posted. So I drop it. And it's just kind of luck of the draw. Sometimes you'll see me and I'll be talking about what's going on. Sometimes I just put out something because I want to stay on the edge, and you're just going to get a show. But I always try to. It's just things evolve so quick, and I don't want to be mediocre in my jokes. I'm either going to have a really good joke about it, or I'm not going to have a joke at all.
Last time I spoke to you, you busted into a really good, spontaneous John Mulaney impression. And then
Sure.
I wanted to share back with you, somewhere between then and now, I saw somebody on Threads or somewhere say the best way to get into a poor man's Mulaney is to do Fred Schneider from the B-52 singing Love Shack. And that has just stuck with me. And I think that's just a really good way to do it. I've tried to do it. I can't do it. You probably can. I'm not asking you to do an impression, but I just wanted to share that back with you.
So Love Shack, Love Shack.
Yeah, it's
That's tough.
I'm driving a car. It's as big as a whale. That being like the way into a marine.
You said you couldn't do it. You just did it. That was
Please,
incredible.
Please get out of here. Final question. As you're doing press and you're talking to dumbass podcasters who can't get their technology together, how do you put up with that crap?
I think it's like I try to answer questions freshly each time, because the time that I used to have to sit down and write has gotten more and more limited. And I have to view, whether it be podcasts or interviews, as a space to explore my own mind. And so I try to break away from the rote answers and just answer something from where I'm at any given moment, because I'll often find, some idea sprung into mind. And I have to, especially at moments of a lot of press, see it as a creative adventure, as opposed to a chore, because that's the only way I can continue churning out new material.
Well, I appreciate you always coming on. I forgot to mention it. As I was watching the special, I thought I was going crazy because I'm like, why do I know these two jokes? And I was like, because he was at Montreal and so were you. And that's where you heard them. And that's where you know them from. I was like, okay. Again, you're clearly in a car and your publicist said he's running around, but he'd be kind enough to give you a couple minutes. So I've taken my couple minutes. I will let you go. I hope we could speak again in the future, but big fan. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, man. Have a great day.